Hello again, I'm Arba Kumsin. We start off with a very worrying revelation by the governance think tank Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, which has just released the results of its second survey on the environment in Ghana ahead of the 2016 polls. Now, the survey revealed several issues most critical to Ghanaians as the country heads to the polls this year, including peace and free and fair elections. Well, that is to be expected, but the worrying revelation in their survey showed that the northern region will be the most violent prone after the announcement of the polls. My colleague Hannah Odame was there. She joins me in the studio with more about this survey. Hello, Hannah.
Hi, Alva.
So this is quite serious, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
Did the CDD explain what the respondents meant when they said that the region would be the most violent prone after the polls are announced?
Well, unfortunately, they didn't go into that detail. They wanted to find out exactly where the violence may break out in case there's despondency after the results have been announced. The northern region was surprising because we would think that it will come from the, let's say, the flashpoints, or maybe the areas where we know it's the Volta region or Ashanti region or maybe Western region. But unfortunately, it didn't come from there. The northern region, as you said earlier, recorded 53%. 53% of the respondents believe that if there should be any violence to come from the northern region. And unfortunately, the greater, the Ashanti region recorded 34%, and then Volta region, which is the bank of the NDC, 18%. Dr. Edem Salome, who revealed the survey results, shed more light on this one.
Ghanaians are still, majority still think that political parties and candidates are very likely to use violence in the upcoming elections. Of course, the parties are major players in the elections, and Ghanaians think that they would use violence in the upcoming elections. Only about 4 in 10, 37% do not think so. The 54%, that's half of the electorate, think that political parties will use violence in the upcoming elections. But Ghanaians, as we are, they say Ghanaians are peace-loving people, are very committed to peaceful elections, and there appears to be a very strong commitment to free and fair elections. So nearly two-thirds, 62%, say they prefer an election to be entirely peaceful, even if it's not completely free and fair. This might sound like good news, but for a democracy-promoting institution like ours, it's quite worrying. Ghanaians would choose peace over free and fairness of an election.
And Hannah is still in the studio with me. So Hannah, what other issues came up when the researchers interacted with the respondents on the environment ahead of the 2016 polls?
Let's continue with where Dr. Salome stopped. She talked about free and fair elections, why Ghanaians would choose free and fair elections, very peaceful ones, over their preferred candidates winning. She said that 15% of such people, that was the respondents, 15% of the respondents, which were 2,680 done across the whole country. Now, when you talk about free and fair, the opposite of obviously would be the violence aspect. She said that 8 out of every 10 Ghanaians justify the use of violence.
Justify?
Yes, they justify the use of violence. They call it, they say the violence are sometimes necessary if it is used to support a just case.
That is quite serious.
So that's it. So that was one of the recommendations they gave, that even though the figures sometimes are quite little, maybe it might represent 1%, 2%, the police should be on the alert, because these little pockets, when they are not really
could blow up.
They can blow up. One of the things I like to say before I leave is the NCCE. We all know that the NCCE is supposed to go around sending information and everything, but when it comes to the sources of information that respondents use, the private media were the ones that topped: radio, TV, and newspapers.
In terms of what?
In terms of sources of information, where you and I source for information prior to the elections. So what do you know about this particular candidate? What do you know about what is going on in this political party? They all source the information from the private media.
The private, not the public?
No, private media topped, then public followed, social media was the third. The bottom was National Commission for Civic Education.
Oh, that's also an interesting revelation. But thank you very much, Hannah Odame, for all of that. Well, we're staying on the issue of the elections, and the governing NDC has criticized representatives of the UK and US embassies in Ghana who suggested the party is to blame for Sunday's attack at the NPP flag bearer Nana Akufo-Addo's residence. In a statement signed by the party chairman Kofi Portofi, the NDC said it notes, quote, it notes with concern a direct accusation made against the party by a U.S. representative without recourse to the facts of the incident. We're hoping to speak to officials of the party. We haven't reached them yet, but joining me in the studio is my colleague Joseph Akablay with a copy of that statement. So what specific issues are they raising with what the US and UK embassies have made?
The point they are making is that if the two embassies had undertaken a little bit of investigation, they will know that the information they put out that sought to suggest that indeed it was rather the NDC supporters who attacked the residents of Nana Akufo-Addo. They would have found out that that was actually not the case. They go on to again point out that in fact it was a peaceful health walk. They were supposed to use the Latrate Fair Center and went through various principal streets of Accra, Nima and Mamobi and was attended by thousands of peaceful NDC supporters. They again make the point that when they got to the residence of the MPP presidential candidate, the armed guards at the residence rather started attacking the supporters of the MPP even though they hadn't provoked them. So they are very unhappy that the two embassies went out to issue a statement that suggested that they rather attacked the residents of the flag bearer. They again point out that indeed the NDP is on record to have said that they are not going to make available CCTV footage from the residents that showed what transpired over there. They've talked about the fact that the MPP's acting General Secretary John Boadu has stated emphatically on radio that the MPP was not going to make available that footage. So they expected the two embassies to rather condemn the act entirely rather than seek to state something that was actually not the case. They again say that the initial police investigation suggests that the MPP, some of the armed guards at the residence, in fact, pointed a gun at the police officers. So they are very unhappy with that statement from the embassy.
Did they make any reference to the issues that were raised in the two statements by the UK and US embassies to the effect that they could revoke visas from some of these politicians if this kind of violence goes on?
In fact, the point they make in that regard is that the NDC notes with interest the threats issued by the two missions to revoke visas and other such diplomatic actions and wonders why similar threats or sanctions have not been considered after previous incidents when the NPP and its supporters have been engaged in inciting or instigating violence, including hate speech. So their point is that they don't understand why in the past NPP has engaged in similar acts, yet they didn't issue such threats. But this time around, a clash between the two, you don't investigate, you go ahead and accuse the other and issue such a threat.
Very well. Thank you very much, Joseph Akablay. Now, well, with less than a month to the polls, the issue of security has come up strongly following pockets of violence in some parts of the country in recent times. You will recall the violence in Ododo after supporters of the MPP and NDC parliamentary candidates there clashed. Last Sunday's violence in front of the MPP flag bearers residence, which we just referred to, and clashes in Wolensi and Yindi in the northern region. So are security experts satisfied with the level of preparedness shown by the police and security agencies in the run-up to the polls? Here is security analyst Dr. Kwesi Enin with his thoughts on the matter.
One is the levels of preparation, which I think are optimal. The second is preparedness to use that optimal preparation to understand, to prevent, and to degrade. Let me try to explain in more simple terms. If we take the actual numbers, logistics, the preparation on paper, then the National Election Security Task Force is more than ready to protect the integrity of the elections, and by extension, the security of the state. We look at some of the few things that have happened, Ododo, for example, and last Sunday, then the preparedness or the willingness to use that capability leaves quite a lot to be desired.
Now let's hit the campaign trail now, and with just 20 days to go for the December 7 polls, the various parties, particularly the major ones, are ensuring that their messages to the electorate are not forgotten as they return to the various regions to reinforce their messages. We'll hear from them. But let's first begin with the People's National Convention, which is launching its manifesto in the Upper East Regional Capital, Bolgatanga. Correspondent Albert Sori joins us. He's monitoring that exercise. Good afternoon to you, Albert.
Good afternoon, Naraba.
So what have you been able to glean from, the PNC's manifesto? Earlier when we spoke to them, they did say that it would hinge on agriculture. What can you tell us?
Well, the national executives of the party, including the chairman, Bernard Mona, and the flag bearer, Dr. Edward Mahama, just got here. I got here over 1 hour ago, and there weren't national executives around to speak to. They arrived just a few minutes ago, and I had to move away to the call. But one key thing they have talked about is that this manifesto is what they are going to use to convince Ghanaians that the PNC is the credible alternative in government for Ghanaians. They've also talked about the fact that they will touch on various sectors of the economy and to be able to convince us that the PNC, if given the mandate this year, will be a credible alternative to rule this country.
I'm sure that a lot of the supporters have gathered at the venue for the event. I'm sure you've been speaking to some of them. What are the expectations?
A lot of them have been singing praises. But let's not forget that the PNC has one parliamentary candidate in Parliament, Al-Hassan Azong, and he's from the district of the Upper East region. And so I think it is one of the reasons why they decided to launch their campaign here, because the only member of parliament they have is from this region. And so a lot of them have been singing praises of Al-Hassan Azong and also praising the party. And, they are very hopeful that today their message will go down well with the people.
All right. Thank you very much, Albert. Sorry, I'm sure we'll come to you in our subsequent bulletins for updates on the PNC manifesto launch. To the Eastern region now, where the MPP presidential candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo, is continuing his campaign there. Maxwell Kudako of our sister station, Adom FM, is with the convoy. He joins us on the line now. Maxwell, good afternoon to you. Where is Nana Akufo-Addo headed today?
Good afternoon. Nana Akufo-Addo is going to tour the Afam Place North and South constituency. Earlier this morning, we went to the Afam Place North constituency, where he visited the Presbyterian Hospital in Donkokrom and had interaction with management and patients there. He later on addressed a rally at the Sakura Park in Donkokrom. At the Presby Hospital, one thing that came to light was that the hospital lacks a lot of facilities, i.e. vehicles and other equipment to work with. And also the NHIS is gradually collapsing. So Ronaldo assured them that he's going to reinvest in the NHIS and make sure that claims are paid promptly. At the Sakura Park in Donkokrom, Afam Plains North constituency, Ronaldo talked about his intention to establish a college of education in the Afam Plains constituency to ensure that people who reside in Afam Plains will also have the opportunity to go to colleges of education and contribute to the education sector. He said he's particular about teacher education and then also education in general.
Very much. That is Maxwell Kudako bringing us that update from the Eastern region, where the MPP presidential candidate is campaigning. Meanwhile, his running mate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, says President John Mahama has, through his actions and inactions, soiled the northern brand, which was known to be one of, quote, integrity and honesty. Addressing party supporters as Balungu in the Bongo constituency of the Upper East region, the MPP running mate urged the people of the north not to vote for Mr. Mahama and the NDC, because doing that will mean a continuation of what he calls the massive corruption and stealing that has witnessed in the last 8 years.
John Mahama's government is the most corrupt government in the history of Ghana. There is no question about that. Dollar for dollar, CD for CD, this is the most corrupt government. And he has the audacity to come to the north to tell the Northerners to vote for him again because he's their brother. Why does your government steal from Northerners if you care about Northerners? And why do you want us to give you another opportunity to steal more from the very Northerners you say you are trying to protect? Let's face it, Dr. Mohammed's government is a disgrace to Northerners. Northerners were always a proud people. We value our integrity. We don't have money, but we have pride. We are seen as honest people. This is the way our fathers worked. Honesty was the guiding principle.
Well, still on the trail, Chief of Staff Julius Deborah has begun a 4-day campaign tour of the Ashanti region with a visit to the Menchia Palace, where he interacted with the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Ohiming Tewia is our man on the ground. He joins us on the line. Ohiming, so where has the Chief of Staff been visiting beyond the Menchia Palace, and what's he been saying?
Yes, Araba, the Chief of Staff, after the Menchia Palace visit, went to the Asante Akim South constituency, the district capital, Jaso, where he interacted with the chiefs and the people of Jaso. Afterwards, he also met NDC supporters. I must say the gathering was a large one, where speakers upon speakers, including the board chairman of the Cocoa Board, Daniel Ohine Ajekum, and Solomon Kansa, Communications Director, Honorable Kojo Edu Asare, a former member of Parliament, addressed the gathering, and the message is centered on the performance of the NDC over the past years that they have been in government. So calling on the NDC sympathizers to spread the good news so that other people will also vote for the NDC. For now, we are in the Asante Akim Central in Konongo, where the Chief of Staff and his delegation has been meeting the Zungu community, and the speakers here has been Mr. Solomon Kansa, and he has been addressing their supporters, asking them not to vote for the MPP, because according to him, the MPP in 2000 promised to provide infrastructure in the Zungu communities, but they failed to do so. So from here, the delegation will move to Fijiase and then to Ajuso, and I'm told in the evening the Chief of Staff will also meet students at the Kompanoche Nursing Training College, Araba.
Thank you very much. That's Ohiming Tewia with our sister station, Insura FM in Kumasi, bringing us that update on the Chief of Staff's visit to the Ashanti region. Well, with some few days to Ghana's elections, some voters are determined to exercise their franchise in what has become known as the mother of all elections. Well, they are leaving no stone unturned in their quest to exercise their civic duty. Maxwell Agbagba caught up with some voters lined up at the EC's office waiting to have their missing ID cards replaced. Here's his report.
My name is Razak Said. I came from Nima, and I'm here to come and replace my photo ID card because 2013, before I burned my photo ID card, my traveling passport, everything. But this 2016 general election, I must cast my vote because it's my right and it's my power. So, and I need it. So that is why I'm here today, to come and replace my photo ID card.
So what motivated you to come all the way from Nima to this place to get the voters' ID card so you can take part in the election at all costs?
Because I believe in Ghana, and I know that with my photo ID card, with my ID card, I can vote, and that vote can make everything possible in this country and this nation, and to vote for the right person to move this nation forward. So that is why I'm here today.
Although I lost my ID card, so it's 2016, we need to vote. So I want to replace my ID card so that I can have access to vote and bring change to Ghana, because now Ghana is too hard for us, with the young boys. So we need to change for a better Ghana.
So that's why I come in.
Yeah.
So those were some voters there. Now let's head to voting school. You may think it's a non-issue, but it's something the law considers crucial. I'm talking about how long the Electoral Commission is required to keep your ballot paper after voting. It's considered an important exercise because you or anyone could go to court to challenge the results of the election. There's more in today's edition of Voting School. And those were some tidbits from our voter education segment, Voting School. We hope it helps you all the time. But that's how we wrap up the show. We are back same time tomorrow. Election Brief is available on YouTube if you didn't catch the live broadcast here on Joy News. I'm Arabu Kumsin.